Hi there and welcome back to part 2 of how to take up metal detecting. I hope you enjoyed part 1 about permissions and land, which as I said was I think is the most important thing before you even get onto equipment. But here's part 2, equipment, what you're going to need. Now I personally detect very light. Detecting is a bit like fishing, especially fly fishing in my case, which is what I do. It's the sort of hobby that you can carry as much as you want or as much as you can. If you want to just have your rod and a couple of flies and a net, that's all you actually need to go fly fishing. But there are thousands of things you could take with you as well if you wanted. I'm not going to go into everything, but it's exactly the same metal detecting. All you need is a metal detector and a spade. That's all you actually need. You don't need anything else apart from that. But you could, if you wanted, take thousands and thousands of bits and pieces with you. I hardly take anything at all. And one of the reasons is this. I've got to carry all this before even thinking about anything else if I'm recording, and that's why I don't always film, because this is the bare minimum I have to bring, not including the mic I've got on me at the moment and all sorts of other bits and pieces. That's what I've got to carry with me. So before I even start, that's what I've got. Anyway, let's get back to what you really do need, and the first thing obviously is a detector. Let's face it, this is the most important thing. In my case, it's the XP Deus. This is the original XP Deus. They have brought out a more modern one now, the XP Deus 2. I use it in light mode, which means I don't even have a readout. All the information I get from this machine comes through my ears. Now, I'm not here to tell you which metal detector you should buy. That's sort of up to you and the research that you do. But what I will say is there is more brand loyalty in metal detecting than I think in any other hobby. If you get into an argument with someone about what's the best metal detector, once people have their brand and they like their brand, they will defend it fearlessly. They will defend it to the death. I feel that I'm quite good. I love my machine. So for me, this is the ideal machine to use. But generally speaking, when this comes up against other machines, quite often this comes second place. This has so much going for it, but there are other brands which are more popular. I don't get involved in it. I like this, and I know there are other machines out there. In many cases, they're better than this. But this is what I've settled with. And it's only one of 3 metal detectors I've ever had. You can spend between, I suspect, £50,000 and probably £5,000, probably more on a metal detector. My only real advice is you get what you pay when it comes to metal detectors. You really, really do. Some of the more expensive metal detectors, it is a point whether they are worth the extra expense, because some of the cheaper ones do the job extremely well. Some of the very cheap ones do not do the job extremely well. I really, honestly would avoid buying a machine for under £250, under £200. It's almost, you might as well almost tear your money up. Now I know I'm bound to get comments about this, and please send them in. That's just my personal belief. But I don't think you should spend too much money to start off with. You might find A, you don't enjoy it. B, like I said in part 1, you're finding it hard to even get places to metal detect. I thought about this the other day. I reckon there is a market for really either hiring metal detectors or buying a good metal detector from a trustworthy source second hand, because your entry-level metal detector for 200, 250 quid will find things, but then just not a patch on something which is a bit more expensive. Now again, I'm not going to go into brands. You'll have to do your own research. It's fun doing your own research. Watch YouTube videos, go onto the detectinghub.co.uk, information below. They'll have lots to say about this sort of thing. Find out what you think is probably best for you and the conditions that you need it for. It's really important that. And there are lots of machines which are inexpensive, which do the job really quite well. But once you get the hang of a slightly more expensive model, it makes all the difference. It really does. But I don't think necessarily you should go all out buying the most expensive model immediately. I really don't. It's dangerous, because the beginner detectorist is convinced that he goes out in the garden and finds gold, or you go onto your nearest field and you find gold. You really don't. I've been doing a bit of teaching recently, and I'm really surprised actually. With the children, they're so enthusiastic, it's wonderful, I really enjoy it. But the older you get, the more disappointment creeps into people when they're out for the first time. I talk them through the machines and everything and get everything started up. We go out into a field and after 3 hours we still haven't found any gold or silver. And there's serious disappointment in their faces until I explain this. You don't just go out and find gold and silver each time. A more expensive metal detector is not going to make you find gold and silver necessarily more. But once you get the hang of a more expensive metal detector, you will see the difference in it compared to the cheaper ones that you have been using. That's probably the bottom line. I could bang on and on and on about it for ages. Do your research. There is plenty of good choice between, I suppose, about £300–500. You could buy yourself a very good machine. Then if you wanted to spend a bit more than that after having found out you enjoy it, then go on to something like this. I think these tended to be about 1,100, 1,200 quid when I bought them. The early days now much cheaper because the newer ones come out. I don't know. You'll have to check prices. I suspect the new one's probably about 1,300 quid, 1,400 quid with the remote control, etc. The light version does come with one of these. I'm not here to sell Deus. I really am not. But ideally, what I would do if I was interested in spending more money, I would try and borrow for a week or two a more expensive machine. I think that I reckon is the answer, because it's way in buying your cheap one. But my cheap one, which I used for 4 years, Garrett Ace 250, bloody good machine. I think it cost me 250 quid, 300 quid or something all those years ago. I found loads of stuff with it, but if I go out with it now, I'm afraid I'll probably break it over my knee compared with what I'm used to now. But it's not to say it was not a good machine. It's a brilliant machine, but I'm now used to something a little bit more high end, which takes a little bit more time to master. Not a little bit more time, it takes years to master. In fact, would you ever master it? I certainly haven't. This still surprises me in certain ways. Anyway, sorry, we've really gone on and on and on. Your metal detector, that's the first thing you're going to need. The next thing you're definitely going to need is your dog. Having a dog with you is great fun, but of course it's not absolutely necessary. Go on, Tascam. I used to bring him out the whole time and it was such good fun when he was little, but these days he's just too wild. He'll just chase everything. So when I'm on land, I know really well it's great fun because he can do whatever he likes. It's just if I'm near livestock or roads and stuff like that, you know, take your eyes off him for a second, he's gone. Until he's had his fun, then he'll stick really close. No, what you definitely will need, rather obviously, and everything's going to sound obvious, especially to those who've done this for a long time, but it might not be obvious to everyone. Sometimes I forget my spade, but you will need one of these. Now, there's almost as much brand loyalty in spades and shovels as there is in the detectors. The amount of times people have said to me, no, you can't use that, or that's too big, that's too small, that's too light, that's too heavy. Well, look, it suits me, and it's a bit like the detector. You'll have to find something that suits you. I absolutely love this. I'll leave a link to it below because a lot of you actually ask. They're not indestructible. I probably bought 4 or 5 of these over the last 10, 12 years. But it's because they get so much use, especially when the ground's really hard and I'm smashing into them. But they're not expensive. They're incredibly light. You definitely don't want anything too small. You don't want anything with the handle coming to there. It'll drive you mad. And this could probably be a bit bigger. But if I'm going longer, then I'm losing what I really do like them for. I like them to be light. I like to have it over my shoulder. If you watch my videos, I'm mostly carrying it like that. I'm never dragging it or having to use it as a sort of stick. It's light enough that I can have it just in one hand. You may find a lot of people do use them. A little trowel very useful, or something smaller that when you're on your knees, and I don't understand why people do that, quite frankly, either, but that's another thing. When you're near the hole, you've got something easier to dig away at the side of the hole or underneath rather than standing up. This is light enough that I can use it for that if I really need to. I tend to actually get up and just give it another little scoop out, but it's just this is perfect for me. I don't need anything else, and as I said, I'll leave a link below for one. But they come in all different shapes and sizes. Find one that's suitable, that suits you. And then you're going to need one of these. Well, look, you don't need one of these. I metal detected for about 2.5 years before I even knew about these things. Someone mentioned them to me, but now if I've forgotten it now, I almost don't bother getting out of the car if I know I haven't got it with me. This one's called a CARHARRT for rather obvious reasons. Again, most of you probably know exactly what this is, but there are probably plenty of you who don't. It's a pinpointer. Your detector is used obviously for you know, when you get good at it, you can narrow it down to probably a 6 inches square, but it's not going to get you the nitty gritty right at the end of something. Let's say you've got a tiny little, I don't have one down there, but look at a tiny little Roman coin or something. You'll find this very useful. You can do the old fashioned way, is you grab clods of dirt and you just wave them in front of the machine, and you'll get a beep provided it's not taking your watch. You know, obviously don't have anything metallic near, and then halve what you have in your hand and do it again, halve what you have in your hand, and eventually what you have in your hand will have what you're looking for. So it's not the end of the world if you don't have a pinpointer. It's quite fun sometimes not having a pinpointer. It tests you out rather. But once you do start using one, yeah, they're very handy. And basically they work like little mini metal detectors. You turn it on, and when you're near metal, it beeps or vibrates or both. And the closer you get, it's a little Tudor button I found, the closer you get, the more it does that. So when you're rooting around your hole and you don't know exactly where it is, or quite often it's not just about finding exactly where it is, it's finding where it is in the hole, roughly the area, so that you now know where to dig rather than making the hole bigger and bigger and bigger. You're locating it to one side, and therefore you know really where to spend your time absolutely sort of going into. Metal detecting is time management. The more time you can save by knowing exactly where to dig is at the end of the day, really it sort of adds up. So your pinpointer, I'll leave a link to one of these below. They cost between, well, this one's about £100, 120 quid. That's probably what you should be spending. This is a sort of just a mid-level Garrett Pinpointer Pro Pointer AT. I think there are cheaper ones, I think there are more expensive ones. The Deus does have a pinpointer that you can sync in with the rest of the thing, with the coil and your remote and everything works together. But I've never bought one of those. You can do perfectly well with one of these. Yeah, get yourself a pinpointer. Now, because as I said, I go out very, very light, a lot of it's because of what else I have to hoik around with me. But I've always only really needed the 4 things, and that's my checklist. Detector, spade, pinpointer, and in my case I need this section here, which is the puck, which either goes to the headphones there, or I can use separate earbuds with it. But if I've got that, my detector and my spade, then I know I'm good to go. I don't need anything else. But as I said, you can take with you as much as you can carry. I mean, don't let me put you off. I personally don't want girly spritzers, toothbrushes, all the other things which are just going to complicate matters. I can clean everything I find at home, and I've got a lot to carry anyway. One thing I will add though quickly, and it's something a lot of you ask about, as I said, I'll leave links, Amazon links to the pinpointer and the shovel, you might find that quite helpful, is this. I've had this for forever and ever and ever, but you all ask about it. You know, where do you get your sort of finds pouch? I suppose that's what it is. I don't carry little pods for my coins. I don't carry little boxes to put things in. Everything goes in this. It basically just slips around very nicely around like that, and I'm good to go. I have my pinpointer there. That also doubles up. That pocket also doubles up for all the rubbish I find. Then the better stuff goes in there. Usually I've got my puck in that one, and my recording, my sandbox usually in there, or my telephone, and then yeah, really sort of almost more sort of good finds go in that section. Anything really, really good or valuable, or something I just definitely don't want to lose. Not that I've lost anything out of this, but I think I've lost one cut half I once lost from there. I put in my pockets. I put in a pocket with nothing else in it. So all my wallet and change and stuff like that goes in one pocket. So there's a completely free pocket. So things don't rub against each other or get scratched, all the rest of it, if I find anything really, really good. So that's it for equipment. You could go on and on and on and on and on. And I know there's probably a million of you, quite rightly, saying, he forgot this, he should have said that, I always carry this, I always carry that. Please leave it in the comments. The comments that you left for the other video were really, really helpful on land and how to get permissions and stuff. And I'm sort of hoping that people read through the comments, because there's lots of people much more experienced than I who watch these videos sometimes. So they may be helpful. And thank you also for all your replies when I asked for someone to help me dig holes and carry things and look after the dog. I really don't think I am going to get out by myself anytime soon. I've only just started managing to take Tasky for short walks, and even that hurts. So I will be, that's really kind of everyone, and I probably will be replying to someone, one or two of you quite soon, because I'm going stir crazy sat inside, hence having to make videos like this, but it's been really good fun. So thank you very much for watching, and join me next time because there's a couple more things I want to add. So we've done part 1, land and permissions, part 2, equipment, and I'm going to do about 2 more. So thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye.